till we are sure that the environment that our children will come back to is one that is safe for them and right for them. So that's basically a foundation of the discussion around totem topics. I think at this time I would like to hear from our parents if there are questions around um, what the next course of action should be or contributions um, around that so that we can take it up from there. Thank you so much. We have Mrs. Fumi Aladusi. I think you can speak, Ma, if you're ready. We also have Mr. Essien Ekemini. You can also speak, sir, if you're ready.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Okay.
Thank
Good
you, sir.
evening, Mrs. Mishola. This is Mr. Essien speaking. First, I must commend the effort of the school in terms of the initiatives and the approach that the school has adopted in managing the school up to this point during this crisis. The virtual classes has added some value to the children. We can only hope for more. My question, straight up, my question is about the school's plan basically to commence third-term classes from tomorrow. Some time ago, some private schools had the initiative to do the same thing we're trying to do, but we got, there was a general pushback from the Ministry of Education that this wasn't a government directive. The question therefore is, what is the position of the government? Does this have the endorsement of the Ministry of Education? Secondly, what happens if it doesn't have the endorsement of the ministry? What then happens if the government later rolls out its plan? Because I am very sure that the government also has some agenda, and whenever schools are allowed to resume fully, and the curriculum commence, I'm sure there will be a backup plan for it. So this is my question.
Thank you so much, sir. And that's the dilemma we've been trying to work around for a while. We are also part of the schools that initially had plans to resume, and we had to change that plan as soon as the government directive was sent across that all schools should not resume till all schools should not officially start third term until they hear from the government. Now, that remains the situation, and like I said earlier, that only schools with international that run international. Sorry, can everybody hear me? Please, can you hear me?
To some extent, yes, it's breaking.
Okay, can you hear me now, sir?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So the directive has been that only schools running full international curriculums have been permitted to resume officially, and that's the key word. So that has kept us at bay for a while now, trying to see that we are complying with the directive. But with what is going on, we have reached out to the ministry to inform them that some schools have started taking some of the third-term topics, and we have heard that we can commence some of the third-term topics, but we cannot resume officially. The directive still stands. You cannot resume officially, but if there are third-term topics that you have that you might want to start treating just as a foundation for when resumption comes, or topics that are that will span 2 or 3 weeks that you want to treat now, so that if there's a crash program when we resume, you might have treated some of those topics already, and the children would be would have a bit of knowledge of those topics, then you can start teaching those topics. That's what we have heard from the ministry. And so that's why we have considered picking up some of the difficult topics for third term, some of the topics that are quite complex. And we are looking at teaching those topics from tomorrow. So that's the issue. We might not comment officially, but we can start teaching some of those topics. Mrs. Abbas, I think your hands are up.
Beautiful evening, parents. Mr. Okay, I know we didn't write exams before the children were sent home. Second term exam.
Yeah.
Now we are talking about starting third term.
Okay.
So how are we rounding up second term for the kids? Are we saying there's not going to be exams?
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's a fantastic question, and we are still of the opinion, because we've not gotten everybody on board with the virtual learning program. We've not gotten everybody on board with the e-learning program.
Hi.
We run the second term exams physically at this time, because some children are still not with us on the virtual learning program. They still don't have access to some of the resources needed, the gadgets, the internet, and we might differentiate those children if we decide that we want to start the exams right away. But as we move ahead, if that situation changes, then we might have to run second term exams online. We are not sure yet about that, and we are still believing that as we resume school, we will run maybe a 1 week revision quickly and run our examinations physically, so that every child is part of that exam.
Okay, I'm just thinking the practicality of the online exam. I'm just looking at the practicality, to be able to involve everybody, all the kids. If it's becoming impossible, I just want to make a suggestion, which I think even outside the country, I heard some countries did that, whereby they rounded up their second term based on continuous assessment. The kids in second term had some tests. So I think maybe those tests can stand for their assessments for second term. And it's a suggestion, I don't know. It's a suggestion. Their tests can act because nobody envisaged the situation we found ourselves. So we just have to move on as a school and as a country, okay? So if the assessment for second term, the test for second term can just suffice for their examination, the assessments. If the test can just suffice for the second term assessment, and we start on a new note. We know that we don't have any backlog, we just start. Because I think the very week they were to write exams was when the school, the kids were asked to stop coming to school, okay. In fact, then I was talking to Ms. Zeno, can we do our exam Thursday and Friday? Let's just rush it and something like that. Not knowing we are going to stay for months, So I'm just suggesting if the test assessment can just suffice for second term and we start on a new note, instead of us having a backlog, because I don't see that practicality of everybody being online.
All right, thank you so much, man. That's a fantastic suggestion. I know we have discussed that in some of our meetings, that we just round up the term using the tests that children have done. It's still under consideration, and I'm sure this week we will also have another meeting to see if that is something that we can do. But even if we're going to do that, we still need to come back to our parents and get everybody's cooperation and agreement that something that we will need to that's an action that we'll need to take right away. Thank you so much, Mr. Abbas.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jordan, I think you can go ahead, sir.
Hello. Good evening. No. Good evening, Mr. Okay.
Oh, Mrs. Jordan.
Yes, sir. We're actually together on this meeting.
Oh,
Via his own lines. Yes, I know a parent just had been meaning to ask. That's how we plan to conclude the second term.
okay.
So she has suggested the assessment, which is the same thing I was pretty much going to suggest. I was hoping that that would have come from the school to tell us what exactly you want to do before we move on to third term. Because many times the children keep asking, oh, we are with our books, so they just keep reading it. When are we going to write the exams? I said, well, finally, we'll be having a meeting today so I can find out for them. So that means the school hasn't concluded on that matter yet?
Yes, we haven't come to a conclusion on that issue yet. The truth is that with the way things are changing and the back and forth with the ministry, is difficult to take a very firm decision on what to do. We're really hoping that there would be the discussions around resumption would happen, and they would resume school sooner rather than later. But things have changed.
Okay.
So now we are going back to that to the round table or to the table to have the discussions around how do we conclude second term. Like I said, there are a lot of issues around it. Some schools did it, they had it online. We are considering, we've considered that, but there are issues around it. Can we get every child to be part of it? How do we ensure that it is done properly? How do we monitor? How do we, how are the results legitimate? All those issues are the issues that we're looking at this time. We also looked at the issue, the option that Mrs. Abbas just spoke of.
Sorry.
Shola, please, can you mute everyone, please? Shola, please mute everybody. So look at the issue of. So we have looked at the option of having, rounding up the term with the test, with the CA test that the children have done, and that's still under consideration at this time. I'm sure, like I said, even if we are going to do that, we have to come back to our parents, inform them, then have an agreement that that is the right approach to take.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Mr. Essien, I don't know if you still want to speak. Your hands are up.
Yes, Mr. Okay, thank you very much. The follow-on question to my earlier one, and thanks for your answer. Two things just pop up. One is I look at my children. I have two, one in the nursery 1 class and one in grade 3. They have been joining the virtual classes. However, the level at which they have forgotten quite a lot of what they've learned really bothers me. At the point in time, I tried speaking to Mrs. Omo, who is my son's teacher, to say, hey, it looks like I'm going to have to probably look for a dedicated teacher that will focus on mathematics and some other subjects of interest in order to re-engage the child mathematically and psychologically to ensure that he's not, the playfulness does not take over. He's quite an intelligent child. Now, the question I'm trying to deduce from this is this. Along with the conversations of wrapping up second term, before we start looking at third term, what can we do to help these ones, these little ones? It should it rather be a third term conversation, or perhaps looking at a more dedicated, defined special curriculum for this period, focusing on sharpening the word skills in some particular key areas. For example, mathematics, for example, quantitative, some of these things, and sciences. Um, I stand on this viewpoint, but I would like to know what the school is thinking around this. The other question, the second question, is that what exactly is the implication of the school's decision to go ahead with the third term curriculum from a financial point of view? What does this really mean? These are my two questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, the first question is quite, I must say, a difficult question, and it's a question that we must continue to ask ourselves. How do we, having transited to a new model of teaching, how do we ensure that it becomes, if not as effective as the old model, which is the physical classroom learning environment? How do we ensure that it's even close to that? And the challenge, this is the major challenge that we have, and everyone has, with the virtual team hours, be it anyone from the any other virtual learning program. So like I said, I don't know where I stopped before. I think I was muted. But whether it's first term, second term, or third term content, what matters is the ability of the child, or of the content, to engage and stimulate learning. That's what is key. The topics are just avenues to something bigger, which is deepening the roots and the personal development and the skills of the children, deepening, getting them to think better, to learn better, to work better. That's what the topics are there for. But we need to be able to design experiences and learning learning materials that stimulate the children to engage with their materials. Now, it's not about third term, it's not about second term, it's not about first term. Now, as a school, we are doing our best to see that as we transit, we are also learning in that process, to see that the materials that we send across to our children, or our children engage with, are materials that they find interesting and they want to work with. You know, we've had a couple of parents. Till last week, a parent called me and told me that in less than 30 minutes, her children are done with the work and they don't have any other thing doing. At the same time, by the time she was done, another parent called me and said, Mr. Okay, you want to kill us with work. We want to die with the amount of work that you are sending across. So we're also trying to find a balance with the content that we send, so that it's not, you know, overly tedious for our children to work with, on our parents to help out, and it's still not too easy for our children to be done and move ahead. The truth is, our support as parents is critical at this time. We must engage and support our children as they engage with these learning materials. As a school, we will do more. What we are hoping for at this time also is to see that we are a bit more flexible with parents and children's needs. So that means that from, I think in the next week or two, we'll start asking questions to find out if our parents are okay with the kind of materials that they are getting, if it's adequate rather, and if it's not, we can now treat on a case-by-case basis. That means that one family can have more materials to work with, another family that feels that the thing we were sending, the basic, is just too much, might not have so much. So we're going to try and be flexible with how we engage our children. Also, there's nothing wrong with going beyond what we are doing and having more ways to engage, you know, looking at more avenues to engage our children. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not insistent that if it's not Divine Offspring, it's nothing else. No, you can work with us and also find other ways to work with the children. There's nothing wrong at this time. Number two, we have looked at the question around the financial implications of starting the third term topics. We are not increasing the fees yet. We don't know. We have not also, it's important to state clearly, we have not also commenced third term officially. This is not enough. Tomorrow doesn't mean third term has started. It just means that we're picking a couple of topics and we'll be treating those topics just to ensure that if for any reason there's an accelerated, the term turns to be an accelerated syllabus that will focus on core subjects, our children will be ready for that situation. But for now, we don't have any, we have not revised our bill or anything. It still remains what it is for the monthly payment of the virtual learning program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have, there's Mrs. Chidema Thafia. I don't know if she wants to speak.
Yes, good evening. Yes, she wants to speak. Okay, so I'm going to speak. I'm the one that raised my hand. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you clearly.
Okay, so I'm going to make one contribution and then I'm going to ask a question, just more of a clarification. Okay, because I've heard parents try to get clarity on how to wrap up the second term because we are technically talking about the third term already. So my suggestion would be, because this is more of a town hall meeting, as you rightly said, so it's more of trying to either get input or you're just trying to get opinions and all the rest. So, but I would have expected the school management coming to say, because we, as you rightly said, we just have to still continue to work with the curriculum of the government. So if we are saying, let's start second term, or let's conclude second term, or let's start third term, I think it would be proper if the school authority comes, the school management comes and say, these are the modality we want to do to wrap up second term. Is either we're going to use the assessment, just like a parent suggested, to assess these students over what they did in the second term, or we're just going to do a virtual examinations. So we'll come up with options so that parents can now come in this platform to say, okay, let's use the second term assessment that have been used over the term. And after all, that's one of the suggestions even the federal government gave. So these kids wrote exams, tests, they did assignments. We can base that so that we'll put a closure to second term, so that I won't have a case where the school resumes, we are talking about doing a 2-week crash program and then exam for the second term. When school resumes, we should be talking about the third term. So I would suggest the school management go back, bring suggestions, options, maybe 2 options, not more than 2, how we expect to bring closure to the second term. That's my suggestion. Now I'll need clarification on the third term topics you are uploading. Now we say, okay, that's what we're having. There's no increase in price and all the rest. So what I'm saying, my question then would be, because you said this is not officially third term starting, okay? And you also did mention that we shouldn't, be so strict. It shouldn't be a case where it's either Divine Offspring or nothing. So if I have options that I feel are better for my kids, for instance, if I'm a teacher, for heaven's sake, let's say I'm a teacher and I can tutor my kids. I'm a parent that is very good in mathematics and I can tutor my kids if I compare it to what I'm getting online. And I decide to do that. Let's say I have a home where I have my brother and my sister all staying with me. I will decide to tutor our kids just to keep up to what we're doing. Now, the question I'm asking is, you are uploading the third term topics. Are these compulsory for all parents, are they compulsory that if you don't do it, it's going to be an assessment much later on? That's my question. So that it will be a case where school resumes and we'll say some students weren't part of the third term curriculum where we uploaded, and so they will not be allowed to write exams, or that's not the question. I need clarity on that. Because at the moment, I'm sure the monthly thing, just as you said, it doesn't mean divine offspring or nothing. So just clarify that while we take my suggestion home as
Thank you so much. Fantastic. We'll be getting back to our parents with the options, but the options are quite clear to me already. These are discussions we've had in our in-house meetings. It's just that we have not been able to come to a conclusion because most times when we're about to reach a decision, there's a feedback we get from the government that says that, counters what we are looking at. But now I think the options are clear, and we'll get back to our parents on the next line to round up, the next course of action to round up the second term. Now, for the issue of the third term topics, like I said earlier, we are not insistent that if it's not divine offspring, if you are not with divine offspring, there are repercussions or something like that. So that's not the plan at all. The virtual learning program is not mandatory. We continue to appeal and to implore that our children be part of it. Because there are advantages, obviously. When we get back to school, I'm sure we would like all the children to be on the same page and at the same pace. But it is not compulsory. I cannot sit here and tell you that if you're not part of it, then there's an examination and assessment that we would use to punish a child or punish a family. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that at this time. Now, if there's need for us to start introducing virtual assessments that would be recorded or will be used later down the line, we will come back and let our parents know that this is what we want to take. But for now, what we are saying is that there are topics in our third term scheme that we will be bringing out, and we're working and we'll be using that from tomorrow to work with our children. And we're not just following the scheme the way it is. We're selecting those topics because we know them, and we know that if we work with the children now, it will be easier if we have to, get back to school to treat those topics again. So that we're selecting, it's a selective approach in picking out the topics that we'll be using from tomorrow. So I don't think we have any plan to run assessments that would use for the final computation of third term scores. So. Hello. Okay. There's a Mr. Nwosu. I don't know if you can go ahead. Hello. Mr. Brighton Nwosu. Okay. Let's say Kimi A. I can see. Kimi A.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody.
Beautiful afternoon.
I want to suggest that they should put the scheme of work on the portal. Because the way the portal is, is every day they give us assignments, classwork and assignments. So I would suggest that they should put for the whole term, they should put it on the portal, the scheme of work. And also, I'd like to ask if there is an extra cost implication for third term, if they're going to increase the fees, and etc. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. For the scheme of work, I would speak with the head of schools to see what we can do concerning that, what you've just suggested. And I'm sure we'll get back to parents even if it's not the whole term, maybe a 2-3 week program so that parents can walk ahead for that, or we can pick out maybe the topics we are selecting and let parents know these are the topics we'll be treating if they've paid for the virtual learning program. But also to the second question, we don't have any plan to increase the fee yet. It remains the same price. The only time we can talk about an increment is when we say that we agree that we are resuming third term virtually officially, and that is not the case at this time. So we don't have any plan on increasing the fees yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bright Nwotsu, I can see your hands up, but I don't know. Okay. Okay, if anyone has anything to say, any questions to ask, suggestions to make, the floor is open now.
Okay. Okay, I have something to say, please.
Thank you, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Good afternoon. Or good evening. Good evening, everyone. My suggestion and a question is, I will suggest that we bring, like every other parents have been saying, we bring a closure. If you will make the decision now, if the school does, the school will go back and sit and look at our suggestions and bring a closure to the term we are presently, or the term we were before the whole corona stuff happened. All right. I've heard that the excuse is because, I heard from you that the excuse is because we can't get to every parent, or every parent is not on board virtually. That's through internet and the class have been going on. And if we have the data, of every parent, which I feel the school has, all right, if we can get to them, if you will agree that we should probably do a test or write an exam, just like we've been doing with our kids. When you send the assignment or like the test they did, we have to sit with them to play the video, or show this is your test and they have to do it, right? So no parents will want to cheat for his child. All right, every parent have the interest of their children at heart, to see to it that whatever test or exam is given to them, that is done, and like it seems to be done by their children. Okay, so, and because of the state we are as a nation and as a country, is everywhere. Corona is not peculiar to Nigeria. Is a pandemic that the whole world is going through right now. So I would suggest that we'll bring to a closure this term. So if any parent want to cheat, if whatever measures want to be put in place to see to it that their children passed, it's just, let's bring to a closure to this term. I would suggest that, and you put together the examinations you want them to write, or the test you want them to write. If it's to get the school boss to go through the data of everybody, if it's for the staff to go through the data of every child that is in the school according to their grades and class, right? And the school boss will bring it to the parents. So it's not sending a mail, okay? So the question is prepared, the answer sheet is prepared, and it's brought down, and it's okay. Please, under 2 days or we'll come back the next day to pick it up, or we'll come back within the week to pick it up. Let the children make a time to fix it, do the exam, and submit to the school, and you take your time to go through it. At least the parents are not going to write for the kids. The kids will have to write by themselves, but the parents will be there to guide, like the teachers will do in the class. But I would suggest it's of importance that we bring to closure this term, and we know that we are done with this term, all right, and we are moving to third term, so that we don't get to third term and you're trying to bring what they've already. So it's like dragging, is like you know, everybody's moving on despite the pandemic is here. Everybody's moving on. The world is on the go right now with internet. So we need to also move on as a school and as parents, you know. So I would suggest, if you look into it, that we bring to a closure this term in particular, and whatever it will take, if it's to write the test, if it's to write the exam, just bring to closure this term. Then we know, okay, we're going into third term, and we know that, okay, this is what it is. Then if the truth is, I don't see this coming to an end anytime soon. I don't see this coming to an end anytime soon. It's not just Nigeria. In every other country, people that have opened are closing down. You know, so if we say, okay, let's wait for the next 1 month, let's wait for the next 2 months, it will get better. Whatever that needs to be done, whatever measures the school feel is okay for our kids to be learning and, you know, seems to be doing what they need to do, let's put it in place. Then if the pandemic goes by tomorrow, we go back to our normal, we improve and we'll go back to a normal state, you know, of time. We'll go back to a normal status and we'll move on with our life. But right now, it won't be good that we're all are static and nothing is happening. Let's put measures in place by the school. If you want to run it through the parents again, and let's look at it and suggest before the children go into it, so that everybody, there will be a buy-in by every parent. That would be beautiful. But let's bring a closure to this and let's move on. Let's move on. So that's my suggestion, basically.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
for this meeting. It's very fruitful.
Thank you so much. I think that's a big takeaway from today, and that's what we're going to do. We are obviously going to get back to parents and spell out the options that are available, not more than 2 or 3, and get everyone buy-in and move ahead. We're looking at concluding the second term. I know if for the primary sector we can run the CBT examinations, and that should cover to a large extent what we're trying to achieve. So it's something that we'll be considering, and hopefully we should be rounding up second term anytime from now. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. Mrs. Jordan or Mrs. Amara.
Hello. Good afternoon, all. Dr. Jordan. Okay, thank you, parents, for all the suggestion. Lovely suggestion. So I just want to see another angle. You know, DOIS is having a lot of plans for third term that are about to begin. So, and I think it's better to look at the worst case scenario in your planning. Says, all assuming government will have us to come back next month, 2 months' time. Let's assume up to December, this thing still persists. What is the way forward? So let's put that at the back of our mind when we are doing our planning. So we can plan, yes, in the next 2 months, we are coming back, 3 months. If at the end of the day, December, we are still working remotely, everything is still like this, what is the way forward? Please, I would like you to put that in the back of your mind when you are planning. Because from all the talk here, I can see we are still assuming we come back in 1 or 2 months. So if the remaining calendar is cancelled, what is the way forward? That's just what I want to, let's put that at the back of our mind in our planning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And we are doing that. It's just that as much as we're trying to plan, we still need the guidance and directive and direction of the government. To be frank, everybody is confused across the world. The developed countries are confused. Talk less about developing countries like ours. Everybody is perplexed by what's going on. We are putting every option on the table at this time, and hopefully God takes control and things normalcy returns. If not, we would continue engaging our parents monthly or bi-monthly, as the case may be, and throwing these options open and coming to an agreement before we move ahead. Our plan is not to take any unilateral decision, but to have all the decisions to be based on consensus and agreement and discussions and collaborations and consultations as we move ahead. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Ms. Samara. Mr. Phillips.
Hello, good
Okay.
evening.
Yeah, beautiful
Good
evening.
evening.
Beautiful evening.
Beautiful evening. Okay, I was just thinking, like the parents that talked about bringing to houses. So that's a good option, but I'm just thinking that we might also look at if every teacher can go through their database of the children and see the ones that are not online, reach out to the parents, find out what is the situation, why they are not online. Okay, so if we can come to a compromise where everybody will understand the percentage of people that are not online and the percentage of people that are online, we can do it in such a way that people that are online, they can do their tests online. Because I don't know the directive of Ministry of Education, but my daughter in Federal Government College, they are actually doing their CA test, the JS1, JS2, except the JS3, and they are doing their CA test. So I'm thinking if a federal school can be running their third term curriculum, why can't we? But I don't know why the difference in what the Ministry of Education said. So, but if we were able to get a high percentage online, then it will now be less people to be taking, less people to convert their materials to their own houses. So that's my own suggestion, so that we can be able to start, because by now we should have been finishing third term. If it was the right way we are going before, we should have been rounding off third term, so that we can't continue delaying. Like the previous parents said, if this extends to December, should we still continue on this base? That's my suggestion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma, for the suggestion. Fantastic one. The truth is that at the beginning, when this conversation started about how do we round up second term,
copy of test to them.
Mrs. Shola, please, can you mute everybody? You know, at the beginning where we started having the discussions around how do we conclude second term. At that time, we weren't sure about the buy-in of parents concerning the virtual learning program. It was a new thing for everybody, so everybody was trying to get accustomed to the new way of doing things, the new way of teaching and learning. You know, so parents were still struggling to get printers, were still struggling to get laptops for their children, were still struggling to get internet at home. So it was a difficult time. We just envisaged at that time that if we had insisted that we would love to run our third term exams online, there will be a lot of pushback from our parents. But thankfully enough, I can proudly say that at this time, at least we have 60 to 70%, if not 70% of our parents on the virtual learning program. So that means that, you know, a good percentage of parents and children of our children are working with us online. So even if we decide to run the examinations online, we will have a huge chunk of our people with us at this time. We can always find we can always find ways to work with parents that still have difficulty accessing the internet or accessing the portal. You know, so that's something that option will be considered. Trying to be flexible around how we round up second term. Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Coker.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Okay. You are doing a good job, and I want to say good evening to all the parents that are there. Well, fine. On the second term issue, I think one thing we need to do is we need to conclude, as everybody has been saying, and I would strongly recommend the use of the CA, because fine, if we do our online, some people are not actually online, as in virtually, while some, fine, the school can't actually reach everybody to give them the hard copy of the questions. So that's That's on the second term. So I believe we should just conclude using the CA. You understand? So then going forward, one thing that has continually struck my mind is that it's not about the class that our children are. The main thing that is important here is that they should continue learning. Learning is a continuous thing. Now, I would suggest that the way we have been doing it, that, okay, fine, we've been doing it virtually, that, okay, now we want to start introducing the new courses. Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay, good. Now, we want to start introducing the new, as in third term courses by tomorrow. Fantastic idea. Let them start, because now we don't know what the government can wake up tomorrow and say, okay, third term, we are not even having third term again. Let's use first and second term to decide and move them to the next class. So it is about, that's why I'm stressing the fact that it's about what they know. And this is very, very important. Now, yes, like, okay, fine, they said a lot of mathematics. Oh, I had to sit down with my boy. Okay, let's do it this way. You know, trying to bring out so many ways to create fun. But you also need to realize that we are not always around all the time. So because of all these things, I think I will still conclude, or I will suggest that we stick to this present way of doing things that we've been doing it. Then let's move ahead. Introduce and then we have the monthly review that we've been doing, which is also a fantastic idea. So let that continue. Then talking about parents that are not actually online, I will suggest to the school that let your teachers call those parents that are not online and find out what the problem is. Of course, a lot of us are using mobile phone. Most of these things can also be done on phone. You understand? So maybe they just need guidance in one way or the other, or something to help them go through that. Or some could actually have these toddlers. Maybe this 40% we are talking about are actually in that category. So by the time you reach out to parents that are not actually active on the virtual learning, you would be able to tell that, okay, 30% of these people that don't hear are not here because of this, and that. Then we'll be able to have an informed data that we have analyzed, then we make an informed decision. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's just my own opinion about it. We conclude second time with our CA that they did that in your own, as in you guys supervised that. You understand? So you can let them use that. Then, of course, let's go on with this online thing. Learning is a continuous thing. And that's my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I cannot appreciate you enough for your points and your suggestions. And I would just like to reiterate that you made some selling points. And number one is that what matters is that the children are learning and being engaged. It's not about third term, first term, second term. I said that before. What matters is that the children are being engaged daily. And we must realize that this is a right that our children have. We cannot deny them that right. Allowing children to stay at home idle without being engaged purposefully, learning purposefully, and that's the key word, is we would be doing them a great disservice. Learning must continue, and purposeful learning at that. You know, critical skills like problem solving, critical thinking are necessary skills today, and more importantly, are skills that they need to function effectively in the future. You know, technology provides the right context for them to practice these skills of problem solving and creativity. Technology provides that context for them. Children need the right context to deepen some of these skills. And children cannot be creative if they don't imbibe knowledge, and good knowledge at that. You cannot be creative based on founded on nothing. You have to have adequate knowledge for you to build on what somebody has built, for it to be called a creative process. So if children are not, so what we are doing with the content that we send across is for children to have the right knowledge, for them to practice some of these skills like problem solving, creativity, the other skills like teamwork, communication, and all of that. But what's important is that technology is being utilized every day. The children have access to technology every day. It is critical that our children are working with technology effectively. Now, it's not about giving your child your phone to play with. That can be engaging, that can be exciting, but it might not be effective because the child might not be using that to solve a problem. So we provide the context for them through the virtual learning program for them to solve problems all the time. It's not for us to go in and solve the problems for them, but for them to think and to solve problems utilizing technology. Another thing to also state clearly, and which is what I tell parents that I speak with that have not, are not in tune with some of this, the new way of doing things, is that we must realize that our children are going to compete with in the globalized world. Boundaries and nationalities are becoming blurred. It doesn't matter anymore. Children will compete for jobs that other people from other countries are competing for our children. So if they are not prepared now in the area of technology I'm talking about, then you find that they will struggle and struggle when that time comes. Our children are still battling with information technology, IT, while children from other worlds are already going into AI, artificial intelligence. So if they are not even used to IT now, imagine when the world that they would function effectively, which is already happening, AI is taking over, then you find that there will be no basis for comparison or no basis for competition. So it's important, very important that our children at this time, accept, imbibe, integrate themselves quickly with technology. It's a no-brainer. There's no need to appeal to anybody. Everybody should know that you must ensure your child is in line with this new way of doing things, and also to ensure that not just giving them the gadgets, to ensure that they are using that gadget purposefully and effectively. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Coker, for your suggestion. God bless you. Mrs. Oyebade? Ms. Oyebade, are you there?
Good evening, everyone.
Beautiful evening, ma.
Yeah. I appreciate the efforts of Divine Offspring trying to ensure that the children are engaged. For me, my children are not on the platform because I've already shared my concerns. I have a toddler that is in nursery. All through the time we are online, you could hardly get him to sit down. You could hardly get him to concentrate for up to 30 minutes, up to 50 minutes. The only time we have to stay with them is on weekends. And I can tell you, weekends, Monday to Friday, they will miss out on a lot of things. Because for online classes, I believe there should be an adult supervision. Because my daughter has gone past the level of just sitting down. You find out that she will quickly, within 15 minutes, she's done with the thing. And she's browsing other things online. So, and if you're not there to supervise what she's doing, you find out that she's going to other sites, she's opening things, she does not use her dictionary anymore. You ask her to use a physical dictionary, she said, Mommy, I can't always Google it. So yes, it is quite good, but we need to always align with things in terms of timing and supervision. If you are starting third time, let's know that we are starting third time. By talking about examination, continuous assessments can always cover for that, because I've not really heard of any child that repeated a class because they failed. It's just a continuous learning. The new system is a graded system, it's no grading, everybody moves to the next class. So obviously the next time, everybody's going to move to the next class also. So, but for the children, for the lower classes, the nursery one that the Divine Offspring have already introduced the one-on-one teaching process for them. It's quite difficult because somebody has to sit with them at all times. I'm at work Monday to Saturday and I leave work at 5. I don't get home until 7. So the children cannot wait for me at 7 p.m. to start going online. So we need to also consider that portion of parents that are engaged. Parents are on essential duties. That's my own concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, Ms. Oyebade. And I totally agree with you. At this age, it's important that the children are supervised properly when they engage with technology. When we speak to parents, we still encourage them that they must be part of this process. Your involvement or a guidance involvement is paramount for the effective use of this of technology by the children. So as much as possible, our appeal is that parents provide the right infrastructure, resources, and environment for our children to engage with technology. Um, uh, we just it's just a difficult time for everybody. It's a time where everyone has to make sacrifices and adjustments here and there just to see that right our children have to learn daily, every minute they are learning that natures that they have to to discover things, that joy of discovery, that excitement of learning, that curiosity, that inspiration that they have. We do not kill it at this time. We don't allow a prolonged stay to kill that nature that they have in them. Children want to learn. They want to find out things for themselves, discover things. We must provide the right environment, the right experiences, the right resources for them to continually develop this nature in them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Mrs. Omolara.
Good evening.
Beautiful evening.
Okay, so my issue is just about what the other parent just mentioned. I also have a toddler, and at the moment I'm at home, but then I have a new baby also. So getting her to sit down, sometimes she doesn't even answer and all of that. So just as every other parent have mentioned, I think we should just use a continuous assessment and end the second term. Then, because even if you decide to carry scripts up and down, my daughter will probably stay for 1 second and just run away or do something else, or she's shouting she's not interested or whatever it is. And then again, she's a toddler. Most of the things they've learned in school, she knows them, but she only answers when she's interested. And she started learning informally just by watching YouTube videos and all of that. So I think we should just bring it closer to the second term. Then whatever it is that we intend to do for third term, we'll start looking at it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, ma'am. Okay. Okay, so I think those are the hands raised up, and I think we've exhausted all of that. I don't know if any other parent has anything to contribute so that we can go quickly to the next agenda.
Hello, Mr. Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
Mr. Abbas. My name is Master Abbas.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, thank you. My little contribution is just in twofold. Number one, like every parent has said, let us put to an end second term. Let us close that chapter and put it behind us. And secondly, when you commence your discussion, you made mention of the government, the leaders acting like confused people. We mustn't be confused. In times of crisis, we need strong leadership. And I'm encouraging the school to lead strongly. And I also encourage parents to lead their family strongly. We shouldn't be confused at all, because at the end of the day, humanity has developed the capacity to overcome great challenges. Life will return to normalcy no matter how long. And if we are not focused, if we are distracted, we might get to that normalcy to discover that we have actually lost so much time and that we took too many things for granted. Our approach should be that of a pilot. When the pilot encounters a storm, he bellows into the microphone and employ the passengers to please kindly go back to their seats and fasten their seat belts. And no matter how long the storm is, normalcy will soon return. And whatever we need, may God provide for all of us. God bless DOIS and God bless all our parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the good words, strong words also. We will try our best to be decisive, to be strong in decision making at this time, but also would also ensure that we are still consulting as much as possible with our parents and finding, you know, agreements and resolutions as we go ahead. The truth is that we are not a very small school, so we are a mid-sized school, and so we have quite a lot of opinions and diverse views about things. So we will always consult. Thank you so much, sir, for what you've said. We will try our best to be very strong on decision making. Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
Any other contribution? Okay, so if not, so that we don't keep too long.
Good evening, parents. Good evening, Mr. Okay.
Oh, beautiful evening, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chijendo.
Oh, well done, sir. How are you, sir?
Oh, thank you.
Long time.
Yeah, I share in the view of the last speaker. All that he had presented, I think, is really on point. I also want to thank the school for arranging this town hall meeting and then request that this meeting should be on regular basis.
Yeah.
As in, we should be doing it like maybe every, maybe once in 3 weeks or 2 weeks or in a month or whatever. As we continue in this situation we find ourselves. So we need to be engaging from time to time between the parents and also the school authority. I support those that are of the view that we should bring the second term to an end, either by using the assessment or doing a second term exam, which I believe is possible. We can do the exam using the online platform that we've been using. So either ways, the school authority should think about that and then come up with their own view on that. But we are thinking that second term should come to an end. I have children in secondary school, and I can tell you that both from different schools, they are already on the third term, though not officially anyway, but they have done 2 assessments, first assessment and second assessment of third term in those 2 different schools. So, and I know Divine Offspring, you are capable of doing even better than other schools. So, like other speakers have also addressed the issue, learning is a continuum. So, we should not give up at this point in time. And like also the last speaker said, this is a time to show leadership. So, if the government is confused, we cannot be confused. The school cannot be confused. We have a sense of direction, and also parents in our various homes. So it's a time for true leadership. That's just my own contribution on that. Then also, I believe the children, I don't know how we'll make it available for them to have access to their books. I know before the school closed, some of them, most of their books are in the school. So I don't know. The teachers, if you look at it, it has to compile a note from their books and see how to send it across to them, or make copies
this will also help them. So in addition to the online programs you are giving, also make sure they have access to their either the textbooks or other materials that they have already in school. So that's just my thoughts on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Very powerful, I must say. Let me take from the last point, the issue of the books. I think that's true. That's something that we need to do, and I believe strongly that if as a school by tomorrow we decide that we will be running maybe a CBT test or a virtual learning test or assessment for the children to round up second term, that will be something that we need to do quickly. That is to send across the books, the children's books for them so that they can prepare ahead for the examinations. But if for parents that would want their books, if you make a request, I think that can be provided for any parent that wants that, and you can just drive into the school and get your children's books. So that's not a problem. We will try to show leadership. The truth is, for a while we've been dragging our foot because we felt that with that directive from the government, we would not like to go outside what the directive is. But thank God that a week or two ago, we were able to speak with them over there, and they've told us, they've given us a bit of direction or guidance, and we'll just make do with the best, make the best of whatever they've said to us. Thank you so much, sir. This will be consistent. Like I said earlier, we would be running these town hall meetings every month. After a month, we'll come together and see how what next we can do, because like I said, it's so fleeting, so you can't really hold on to anything. Every information that comes is dealt with on a day-by-day basis. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir, for your contribution. All right. The second point, the second agenda on our list is a safe school environment. So as a school, we believe that we have to start having discussions around resumption. In fact, when we put up this as an agenda, the government have started talking about resumption. They are directed that all children in graduating classes could resume. But at this time now, they have rescinded that decision, but that does not stop us from, that does not stop the school from, commencing discussions around it. I don't know if everybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that does not stop us from commencing. Does not stop us from commencing discussions.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. That does not stop us from commencing discussions around a safe school environment. But what we would like to do, so we don't waste so much time, is to let parents know that we'll be setting up committees across the branches. Parents that have medical background will be employed to join those committees so that we can now start looking at what we need to put in school as regards infrastructure, as regards human resource, and as regards also finance, to ensure that when our children resume back to school, then they will be resuming an environment that is safe and well for them and sound for them to work in. So that discussions will start. We'll start speaking to parents. If parents want to volunteer, or they are open to volunteer to join that committee, so that we can have these deliberations around what we need to put in school, so that we can feel safe. It's important to feel safe first before you are even safe. So when our children are back to school, we can feel safe. And we also know that when we resume, there's a possibility that we'll run a hybrid system where some parts of the school term will be virtual learning, while some parts will be physical learning. So we need to put all this into consideration with our parents when we have these meetings. I don't know if there's any contribution in this regard, but that's something we're thinking about, setting up these committees so that they can start deliberations on what we need to put in the school to ensure that our children are coming into a safe environment. Any contributions? Okay. We would also be sending out, I think the third on the list, we're almost done, is to send out a link to our parents for feedback on the use of the portal. Well, thank God that it gets better by the day. And at this time, we can say we have gotten to a point where we can, we can say there's a bit of stability. But we need to get better every day. Post-COVID, virtual learning has come to stay. There's no denying that. We can't say we would go back fully to where learning's happen. There's the classroom learning is the only way children will learn. So we have to ensure that we are constantly improving the virtual learning program. So we need feedback from our parents, to ensure that we are putting in the right, improvements. We're improving the portal so that it's better when our children use it and they enjoy using it. So aside the learning, it's also fun to use and it's something that they look forward to using every day. So that's another information I would like to pass across.
Yeah, on the virtual learning has come to stay.
Okay, so I think it's AOB. Time for AOB. We're done. If there's any other contribution, we would like to hear them now.
No. Beautiful evening, everyone. Oops, can you hear me? I can't. Okay, I can't hear myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Continue. Everyone, to what everyone said. And I was thinking about the Google Classroom, if it's possible for us to use that, because with the Zoom class, it sometimes goes off. But I think with the Google Classroom, it's much better in teaching the children rather than using the Zoom class, because sometimes it just goes off. And even when the teacher is teaching, the children cannot even hear them. We hear the teacher. So I think it would be better for us to probably move up to the Google Classroom than the Zoom. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Liami. This is recorded, so obviously we'll have a meeting with the team tomorrow to find out, because the idea is to keep incorporating all forms of all avenues to engage the children. So we must not be static about any particular program or app. So that's something that we can look at and see if it's better than what we're using at the moment. And if it is, obviously we are going to integrate it into our system. Thank you so much, Ma.
Okay, Mr. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
On this meeting, some parents are finding it difficult to join because I think Google, Zoom can only take 100 participants.
Oh, okay.
So it was saying maximum reached.
Oh,
so
wow.
some parents are finding it difficult to join the meeting.
Oh, okay. We'll send.
So is there any other avenue?
Yes, well, this is actually a paid. We actually paid for this to extend it. So what we'll do is, for any other meeting that we're going to have, we're going to go to the next level. There are levels, so we never knew.
Okay, because I want to believe it involves the three schools.
Yes, it involves the 3 schools. So okay. We're going to, for the next meeting, we'll pay for the next level so that it takes in more participants. But what we'll do is to send the recorded version of this meeting, of this meeting across so that every parent can have access to it. And if they have questions for us, please, they can send it across to us. They can place a personal phone call or send us WhatsApp messages so that we can respond to them. We are still listening, at least from now till tomorrow next, when we come up with any new information or directive or what we are going to do going forward. But one big takeaway from today's meeting, obviously, is the fact that we need to round up second term. Everybody's on agreement. If we were together, I would say raise your hands and everybody, we are not together. So, but I can feel the vibe that everybody is off.
We need to do that.
That we just need to find a way to round up second term so that we're not looking backwards anymore. So that's something we will get back to parents by tomorrow, latest Tuesday, on what we want to do. Thank you so much, parents. Thank you. It's been a fantastic time with everyone. Just because the meeting has ended does not mean that we stop meeting. So you can always reach us at any time so that we can address any issues that you might have going forward. My love to the children. The proprietress sends her love also. The school, we miss the children so much. And
they miss school too.
Thank you. And we hope that we will be back together as a family physically.
Next year.
God bless everyone. Bye. Thank you.
God bless you too.
Nice one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice meeting everybody.
Hello, Mr.
Hearing from everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye.